What's up, everyone? This is Melissa Ledger from The Smart Yoga Teacher. And today I wanted to cover creating images with text for your website. Having images with text is kind of like the thing now on social media. It gives your site or your blog or maybe an upcoming workshop a nice look and feel, so you can add an image but still describe what the actual either post or workshop or whatever it is about. And it's actually pretty easy to do this. Now, I have Adobe Photoshop. I use that for some things, but one of the resources I like to use, and it's completely free, is BeFunky. BeFunky is an online software, and you can get to it at befunky.com. Ton of features here. We're just going to cover how to put text over your actual image, but it has its own photo editor. It has a collage maker, which is pretty cool. We use that a lot. And then it also has the designer. So for today's session, we're just going to click on designer. And this is the default screen. So it always takes you to the same picture, but we've got the navigation screen over here. Right now we're on the templates, and we're just going to get started with a blank template. So for the purposes of this, our example is actually going to be for this video. So we're going to create an image. And I click on blank templates. We've got event graphics, blog resources, and social media. I like to use blog resources because I do tend to blog a lot. And what's nice about this is you've got all these predetermined sizes. So by using these predetermined sizes, you don't have to always try to resize your images or move them around to make sure everything fits. You just keep using the same image over and over and over again. So I tend to use this 560 by 315 a lot. And once I click on it, a blank template is going to come up and it's automatically sized for me. So now that I have my template size, I want to add a background image to it. I'm going to go to the navigation bar and click on Image Manager. And you've got a couple options here. So if you've been to BeFunky before, you can use an image that you saved. You can use Pixabay, which is an awesome site. It integrates into BeFunky, and they have a lot of royalty-free images, which I'm a big fan of because I think it makes a huge difference having professional images versus kind of a grainy one that you get from your own camera or somebody who doesn't know how to take photos properly. You've got Facebook images, and then if you want to, you can also upload some from your computer if you have your own images. So for today's purposes, we're just going to use Pixabay. And you would just search what you're looking for. So today I'm going to put in yoga. And all of these images come up. So cute little frog ones. We've got yoga mats. You can switch the photos, and then more images come up. And what's nice is all these images are royalty free, so you don't have to give credit back to somebody. It's just automatically free for you to use, which is really nice of the people who donate their time. So I'm going to click on this yoga mat one, this Manduka mat. Once you click on it, you'll see a checkbox. And once you see that checkbox, the image will come up on the screen over here. You can click on as many images as you like if you wanted to try out a few. But once you click on your images, just hit the X, and then you can experiment with all these different images. So I'm going to click on our Manduka image, double click on it. You can also drag and drop it. The image is going to come here over to the screen. So I want this to be my background image. What I'm going to do is just make it larger. And if you look at the image, the bright part is what's actually going to show. Even though we can see the rest of the image, this is all cropped out. So you can change the size if you wanted to change the scale of the image. You can make it bigger if you only wanted to see a portion. I'm going to leave it right here. And a couple different things that you can do here. So I tend to gray out my images so my white text will pop a little bit. So I click on this, and I'm going to just click on a color that I'd like. So if you notice when I click on the gray, it's going to darken the image. You can also do other colors if you like. If you wanted more of a red tint, or if you wanted maybe a blue tint, you can click on a blue tint. But I'm going to keep mine nice and gray, nice and simple. You can also change the intensity, so the more You increase the intensity, now I can't see the image, and then I lighten it up, and I still got that grayscale over it, but I can still see the image. You can also lighten or darken the image over here. You can also edit the image, or if you wanted to replace the image, you can do that as well, but I'm just going to leave everything as is. Okay, now we've got our background image, and let's say I wanted to add my logo. A logo is a nice way, so that way if people come to your blog, they're not stealing your images to use on their site. It's just kind of annoying, and it also just gives everything a nice look and feel. So I've clicked on computer now. I've uploaded my logo, and I'm going to double click on that, and now I'm just going to resize it. Okay, so we can put it, actually, let me put it in the left corner today. Normally I put it in the right, but because this is orange, the text isn't going to look right. Now I've got my logo on, and it looks, it looks like my brand now. It looks like if someone were to come to my site and repin it, they would see my logo. And it just looks like I spent a little bit more time into my business by having nicer photos. So now I want to add some text. Once you click on text in the navigation bar, this screen comes up. Got a couple different options here. The first thing I like to do is change my font. So personally, I prefer having my own fonts that I use on a regular basis, so everything has that same look and feel. You don't have to, but it's just one extra step. So all of the fonts on my computer are going to be under this category, yours. They also have a lot with BeFunky, and that's under ours. But I'm going to scroll down to the font that I use all the time. I'm going to center it, and I'm going to change the size. Now it's super big, so we want to make it a little bit smaller for as wide as I want the text to be. And I'm going to move the text up here. And we've got the color down here. It automatically defaults to having an outline color. If you click on this red slash, it's going to remove it. I don't mind outline color, but I don't like it that intense. So I'm going to change it down to about 50, so the outline is a little bit less. And we're not going to use it here, but what's a nice feature, and I use it for some of my other projects, is giving your text a background color. So wherever your text bar is, you're going to see this background color, which sometimes will help make the text pop or to make it look a little bit cuter. And now it's time for me to edit my text, so I'm just going to click on the box. So I've got my text here, and one thing I like to do, especially if I have multiple rows, is sometimes I like to use a text box, but use separate ones so I can maybe make the font size a little bit bigger to add more emphasis. So I'm going to click on this text box, and then I'm going to click on duplicate. It also lets you center it nicely. So if I move it over here, it's not centered. But if I wanted to center everything, these lines come up to let you know that it's centered. If I wanted to change the font a little bit, I can change the scale. Or I can click off of it, click back on the text box, and then change the font size here. Maybe I want it just a tad bigger, so I'm going to take it up to 40. And again, I'm going to duplicate one of these one more time. That way I don't have to search for the font and change all the features so it's exactly the same. All I have to do is change the text now and the font size. And I personally like to use font size instead of spacing, but you can use either one. Okay. So now I've got my image. and I've got the text on top of it, and let's say I wanted to move something or maybe make it a little bit smaller, all I have to do is click on these text boxes now and move anything around the way that I want to. So I've got my image, and this is pretty much done. But if I wanted to save it, if this is your first time saving it, but you want everything to kind of have this same look and feel, I'd recommend saving it twice. So the first time that you save it, and you won't have to do this all the time, is to save it as a template. So that way, if you were to make another image and you, again, wanted to have things with the same look and feel, you don't have to do all these steps over again. You just change the image or you change the background. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and click on Save, and I'm going to save it as project. I'm going to give it a name. Now, if you have a BeFunky template, or sorry, BeFunky account, you can save it to BeFunky. I like to save things on my computer just because I forget my logins all the time. I'm going to go ahead and save it here. You can choose to save it to BeFunky. Okay, and I don't think you can see it, but my save came up. Okay, so now that's saved as a BeFunky file. But if I just wanted to save it as an image, what I'm going to do is save it to my computer. I'm going to save it as either a JPEG or PNG. I'm going to give it a file name. I'm going to hit save. And I know you can't see it now, but I'm saving it to my desktop. So now I have this image saved to my desktop that I can upload onto my website. So one last thing, we did talk about creating templates. Let's say a week from now I do another blog post and I needed to create another graphic. Instead of doing all of this over again, it already saved a template here, but just as an example, I'm going to load a project. I'm going to go to my desktop where the original template is. And let me just reset this so you don't see it. We've got our blank image again, but instead of doing all that work again, now that I've loaded my project, all I have to do is click on it. And we've got that old template, the same template that we used before, but if I needed to change something, I don't have to do all of that work over again. So if I just wanted to change the background and the text, I can replace the image. I can go back, I can either upload one or I can go to our image manager. And I can delete this one, put this one in here, and I'm just going to send it to the back because every time you add on text or add on things, kind of in terms they come on top of each other. So the last thing is going to be on top, and what I want to do is just move it backwards. Okay, so I've got that same image. I can change the overlay, and then of course I can change the text. So that way things are just a little bit easier for me, so I can do less of this stuff and do more of teaching yoga or just enjoying life instead of being on the computer all day. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments section. And if you have anything else you want to learn, stop by thesmartyogateacher.com for more tips. Thanks so much.